So tonight we're going to do a bike check on my 2016 Banshee Spitfire. This is a custom build and the frame was provided by my principal sponsor, so the first thing to do is put a big shout out to my good wife because this frame was an amazing 30th birthday present from her. Sponsor plug over! So when coming up for this new bike, I looked about at various different whole build options, and with my budget and price point, there was always going to be compromises in some of the components that I would choose. And with any new bike you buy, there's going to be some compromises, whether it's the tyres, chin guide, the brakes you choose, the saddle you'd have, all those little things that just add up as little upgrade extras. That when you're buying a new bike, you don't want to have to buy all those things new again, straight out the box. So the obvious answer for me was to go for a custom build. Let's talk about everything on this bike. Let's start off with the frame. 2016 Banshee Spitfire has different dropout options. You can have it as a 26 or a 650. I went for the 650 option. It's got 140mm of travel, 142 by 12mm axle at the back, and at those rear dropouts you have different options for adjusting the height for a high, low and middle position for that axle, which affects the head tube, essentially giving you a steep neutral slack. Now in the slack setting you come in at 65 degrees, I'm going to do up to 67. I don't know why you'd run a bike like this at anything other than a slack, because its all intentions are to go fast and steep technical terrain. Sure, if you're more of a trail oriented rider and you're going to run a shorter fork on it, then maybe that would make more sense for you. But for me, the slack setting was what made sense for me. Tapered headset, got a Chris King headset in there and a threaded bottom bracket. KS link suspension, so it's a floating pivot, not dissimilar to the VPP system on Santa Cruz. Gives incredibly plush kind of rear suspension movement. So basically you're going to sink into that sag really easily, then it's going to firm right up in the middle of its travel, so you want to stay high in that travel, but as soon as you push deep into it, right into the last 40mm, it's going to sink away, so you're always going to have to use that travel when you need to. On the front, I've got these Marzocchi 350Rs. This is the entry level of the 350 forks. Coil with air preload, it's got a simple rebound, that's dually compression, no compression dampening adjustments, just what the stock cartridge is and the rebound. It's got the same chassis as your other 350 air forks, it's just significantly cheaper and a little bit heavier, but I do like a simple fork. It is, as you would expect from Marzocchi coil, plush as fuck. Handling the rear spring duties, I've got a Cane Creek inline, complete opposite from my fork end. I've got every adjustment under the sun there. High speed, low speed rebound, high speed, low speed compression dampening, lockout, full works. I've got a video of me playing around with shockwaves with that guy, but to be honest, the bass tune that comes with the Banshee is pretty on it. So that's the frame and suspension duties taken care of. Moving on to the rolling stock, we're in the UK. We've got a custom build, which means you've only got two options essentially. So we've gone for Hope Pro 4 hubs in red, of course, because silver, red. We've gone for a colour scheme here. Laced to WTB Frequency I rims in the 25mm internal diameter flavour, front and back. They're shod with a Schwalbe Magic Mary up front, and I had a WTB Vigilante in the back and in the slop. That combo worked really, really well. In the past I've run with the Mary up front, hand damp in the back, high roll in the back, and they've all been pretty good, to be honest. They've been good combos. If I was still going to stick to pure Schwalbe, then I would put stick a hands in the back. With the Mary, we've gone for the Trailstar compound and the Snakeskin Evo. Because it's on the front, we can deal with that slightly lighter tyre. At the back, currently, I've actually got a WTB Trail Boss because it's Scotland and it's dry somehow. So now that I've fitted that slightly faster rolling tyre, I've now cursed everything for everyone, and the heaven shall open and mud shall return and balance restored to the force. But it's in the tough, fast rolling variety, so it's a harder compound but faster rolling for the rear. It does like hard pack, it does like trail center, it does get a little bit loose, but when it's dry, a little bit of rear drift, you can handle it, you can expect it, and you can kind of work that into what you're doing. So drivetrain, we've gone for 11-speed Shimano XT because it works, you're not going to have any problems with it. Frankly, I prefer Shimano over SRAM, the affordability of replacement derailleurs when you inevitably hit one of a rock, the durability and the weight to cost performance triangle, it just balances just right for me, and I just like the ergonomics of the shifter that little bit better than when I have used SRAM in the past. Sure, it's got the rear clutch, but that clutch will affect the suspension movement, so half the time I leave the clutch off and rely on the top chain guide and the narrow wide chain ring teeth to hold the chain on, and to be fair, those two by themselves work great. The clutch, that's just extra security that you don't need. I say it's an XT, but it is a mixed bag, because we've got the SLX shifter on the front, just because the shifter is cheaper, and if you're just pulling all the random parts together yourself and not getting it as a group set, then if you're going to go cheap somewhere, go cheap on the shifter. 11-speed 42, 11 to 42 cassette at the back. Could have gone for 46, but my other bikes are 9-speed. Why would it make life that much easier for myself? On the front, we've got an absolute black oval 32 tooth chainring, driving all that at the back. That's married to my old XT 10-speed chain set. They're in great nick, and again, they're light, they're strong, they're tough, and there was absolutely no reason to replace them, so they just straight forward from the old bike. The front crankset is spinning on Hope bottom bracket. Bearings are totally replaceable and serviceable. It's Hope, it's going to last forever. It's going to outlast this bike for sure. Currently on a set of Hope F20 flats as well, because I like flats. Flat pedals win medals, plus when getting to know a new bike, I thought let's just go for the flat pedals. Concentrate on those skills, because this is a significantly longer bike than I've ever ridden before. Take it up to the cockpit. Got a Hope all-mountain 50mm stem in black, because the red stem would be a bit much there, I reckon. That's on a set of nuke-proof carbon warhead bars, 760, 20mm rise. On the cockpit we've got some litter skin PT grips and the older XTR trail brakes. Now, I went for the older ones, second hand, so get on old Fleabay and get XTR Performance for a little bit cheaper. I had XTR on my old bike and they were 04 calipers mated to similar generation Saints, and they were great. I love those brakes. Those guys just stop for days and had all the modulation in the world. And the newer XTRs, like the newer Dior's XTs, they do have that floating bite point issue, and I'm sure that's clear, but I didn't want to run that risk, so I just went for the previous but still generation XTR's trails. So they've got the lever adjust and the bite point free stroke adjust. I have to say, yeah, they're second hand. Once I kind of got them fairly clean, cleaned the pistons, fresh bleed, fresh pads. Boom, beautiful. Matchmakered my shifter onto those because I do like a clean cockpit, minimal as possible. The only other thing on the cockpit apart from the brake clamps and the grips is a dropper post. Specialised command post, 100mm drop, cable actuated, non-internally rated. It's an older dropper post, but again it's bomb proof, it's cable actuated, nothing can go wrong, it's fully serviceable. Thing just twists apart, you can put some fresh grease in there. Put thicker grease if you want to slow down the return speed, thinner grease if you want it faster. A little bit of modification to my PT grips, and one of the lock rings becomes the remote for the dropper post, again cleaning up that cockpit, and allows me to move that dropper lever in on board a little bit so I don't have to move my thumb as much to get at it. Sitting duties are charged saddle. All my bikes now got charged saddles, they just fit. They just fit me really well, really happy with them. Other neat little details, stem spacers are KCNC, so they're kind of hauled out on the inside for super lightness. Not that this is a light bike by any stretch of the imagination. And we got a little Is it KCNC or is it KNC? One of the KNCs. KCNC, KFC. But from a Garmin, just clicks in there, takes in one of the spacers on the headset as well. And our top cap is a 50:1 because everyone loves a bit of back wheel. Now what was there to say about this bike? Having come from a single pivot where you just got used to how to pedal, how to climb that bike, how to pedal efficiently, because let's be honest, my last bike was a Santa Cruz Heckler 05.0, so it's an old Heckler, old 05 frame, and on the downs that thing was supple, it just ate it up, but it didn't climb great. You could climb well on it, but you had to kind of climb in a certain style. This bigger bike, longer frame, much more sophisticated suspension, and it just fitted, it just felt right. We bonded really quickly, let's put it that way, as a Big Tom. Climbing is great. It does have the climb switch, but I find myself not using it as much. Yeah, it does stiffen up the rear end, but on a lot of technical climbs, you want that kind of that supple rear wheel movement so that you can kind of grip and keep traction, and it just keeps traction and just goes on and on and on. On the downhill, with the base tune, you can make it as soft and as supple as you'd like. You lose a little bit of top end speed, but it was just so smooth, so supple. With the rear end stiffened up, that little touch and the compression dampening and then the low speed rebound, it's just a mini monster truck. It just goes, and it goes when you let go of the brakes best. It does suffer a little bit from brake jack, and not noticeably from past bikes like the Heckler, but this bike does do best when you get low on the bike, get your shoulders over the bars, let go of the brakes and let the bike work. It does really well when you're really dynamic on the bike and you really work it through those compressions. But being a mini monster truck, you can let the bike do a lot of the work and you can get lazy on it and just, not so much being a passenger, but let it get wild and let it get loose, and it will hold its line and it will keep you safe. And you'll have, I've had plenty of moments already with this bike in the first 200 miles where I've just been like, I'm still alive. It just trucks. It does have a very different riding style because it has much more modern geometry to my previous bike, so it does want you to get your shoulders over the front and to get low. Have that flat parallel back to the top tube and not hang over the back. There were once or twice when I shot over a few drops that are a couple feet high, put my weight right over the back like I would in my older bike, and the bike wanted to leave me where I landed and to carry on in a straight line, and I had to hold on so I didn't get thrown out the back door. Put my weight forward, trust in the bike, do the same drop, and the bike just holds you and it takes you with you and it encourages you to go further and faster. It's got a lot of standards on it which would be considered old hat. It's not boost. It's 142 by 12, it's external routed cables, it's aluminium, but for all those things, it's all the better. It's aluminium, so I don't have any of those carbon worries. Sure, it's a little bit heavier, but I'm looking for weight and reliability here. It's externally routed cables, so it's easy to service, and the industrial looks aren't to everyone's liking, but I kind of like it. I kind of really like it. Like you can see how it's working, you can see where the machining is, and you can see where all the welds and attention details been put. And to be fair, the welds are really clean on this bike. Bike comes in at, I think it was 32, around about 32 pounds, but I've not weighed it since putting on the lighter tyre in the back. You know what, I'm happy with that. I got the 26-inch Heckler to 30 pounds by putting light tubeless rubber on it, but it didn't have the bash guard at the time. This has got the Black Spire bash guard and taco at the bottom, so has a bit of weight, heavier tyre in the front, and it's bigger wheels and rubber, so you're going to have a bit more weight from that. When riding, I don't notice that it's over 32 pounds. I can still get in 14, 16 kilometers in an hour when I put the hammer down quite happily. And I want that weight and that heft because it just helps track on the downhills, and all the parts are built for and chosen for reliability, because I don't have the time, I don't have the money to replace parts that break. If I went too light, then I'd be worried about hammering stuff too hard. So I go for the heavier aluminium rims. I would be worried about smashing chains and chain rings on rocks and going off of drops because I've now got that lower bottom bracket, so get a tackle. Would I buy this bike again, or more accurately, ask my wife very kindly to buy me this frame again? Hell yeah. Would I build it with all the same components? I would say 90% yeah. The fork was a bit tricky to bed in and get going how I liked, purely because when I ran the recommended preload I could not get that fork to sag because apparently I weigh as much as a fart in the wind. Run 5 psi in it and it just comes to life. So there were some early rides where I thought I hadn't made the best choice of the fork, but now we get on. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and check back to see bike checks on my other bikes. Cheers, Tom. Thanks for the first 200 miles. Here's the next 2,000 more. Hold my cup.